Hello, Kimra Hashiv, and you is Misha Joseph, and I'm Paslik and an Alaba. Ha efur an Alaba and Jugli ur. Oh, very cold today here in Paisley. Now, let me just explain what we're going to be doing here. As you know, this channel is dedicated to learning Gaelic. One of the hardest things about learning any language is to find suitable material to learn from. It's crazy, especially with Gaelic. There just doesn't seem to be a lot of stuff out there that's kind of funny, modern. It kind of relies on old traditional stuff to bring it alive. And that is because we love old traditional stuff. Now, what I'm thinking is that when you and I are going through Gaelic books together, it's nice, it's fun, and we are doing it the slow way. We don't want to rush into a very hard language because, let's face it, Gaelic is not for the faint-hearted. It's quite strong with all these heavy pronunciations. What I'm thinking is maybe I can write something. And every time we meet, we can use that thing to practice some Gaelic. So rather than relying on other people's books, I can write some easy stuff and we can look at translating some of it into Gaelic. Now, I have to say, this isn't a major intensive course for writing in Gaelic, okay? It'll mainly be in English, and we'll take some phrases and move them into Gaelic, and the whole story will be kind of Gaelic based. Let me just explain. So, my idea is this: in the future, I'll still be going out and about with my camera and doing some Gaelic things, but I want to introduce you to a story that I'm going to be writing, and I'm going to be putting it up in little bits as I write it here on this channel. I've called it Reclaiming, which in Gaelic is Ath Vuanach. And the story is set in the 2030s. Supernatural beings are now living in modern society alongside humans. A group of Scottish Gaelic supernatural beings have set up a 12-step recovery group while trying to adapt to modern life. Some of them remain hidden in the shadows, pretending to be human, while others are very open about their identity. The story revolves around the racism and discrimination they face in modern society while trying to fit in. Now, I think this would be very good for you because you can get to learn all about Scottish mythical creatures because we have loads of them here. And we can learn about their names and their characteristics while we're going through these stories. And we can also just, learn a little bit more about their ways. While we're doing that, we can also do some translation into Gaelic about what they say, how they act. Nothing heavy. The story will be mainly in English, and we can just take some little bits and translate them into Gaelic and explain as we're going on why we do that. So, this is my idea that we'll be observing them in their 12-step recovery group and also watching them in their daily lives. And from there, we can build some lovely stories. By the way, it's a comedy. It'll be very, very funny. Okay, so it's nothing heavy. So don't be put off by the idea that this isn't going to be amusing. The main character is a Selkie named Samuel, who's trying to find meaning in living in a very human world. He has a kind of romanticism and yearning about being back in the sea, but his second wife who left him in the year 2000 took his sealskin. So he's stuck living on dry land. He's currently living with his mother and his three children, and he has visiting rights. Okay, so a tale, legend, story in Gaelic is called Sgeulachd. I've written the pronunciation here. It actually has a D at the end, but the pronunciation is Sgeulachd. Sgeulachd. It's more like a G at the end than a D. And it's the same with this. Athruanach, it kind of ends with a G sound, okay, rather than a D. But that's something we can focus on later. So, story Sgeulachd. Reclaiming the name of my story is Athruanach. Okay, and the main character is a Selkie. Now, a Selkie is a Scottish word. It comes from the Scots dialect. It's not Gaelic. And a Selkie, this is our first introduction into the main character of our story. A Selkie is a seal, the animal. It's kind of like an otter. But in Gaelic mythology, seals are more like mermaids. Not exactly like them, but something similar. So the seal can go to the beach, take off his skin, and a man or a woman will step out. Now, in Gaelic, the word for Selkie, or the seal that becomes a man, is quite simple, Dunyamara. And this is the same word for a male mermaid, Dunyamara. Okay, there is another word for the female mermaid. We'll come to that because we've got another character who's a female mermaid. But all you need to know is a Selkie, half man, half seal, in Gaelic is known as Dunyamara. And that's Samuel. Samuel is the same in Gaelic and English. Samuel. Now, I've had some variations, but in general, in Scottish Gaelic, Samuel is the same. Samuel. And here we can see that Samuel is this half seal, half man. And in Gaelic mythology, whoever has your skin controls you. Okay, so there's loads of stories about the female versions of the Selkie. They're more often women than they are men. And there's lots of stories about uh, men who've gone to the beach and they've seen women stepping outside of their seal costumes so they can sunbathe, and then the human man has stolen the the um, the skin, and the woman can't go back into the sea without it, so she has to follow him to try to get it back, and they become lovers, of course. But she's always reminiscing about the sea. And if she is ever able to find her skin again, she will take the children and disappear. She won't hesitate because her first love is the sea. Dunyamara, the male version of this, is very similar, but he's a little bit more loyal. The male Selkie, he won't just run back to the sea with the kids and you'll never see him again. He's actually a little bit more kind of like the die-hard romantic. Interestingly, this word dunya, and it's written here and pronounced here, okay, dunya, in Arabic also means the human world, the dunya. If you've ever spoken to an Arab man, you'll hear him talking about the dunya, the problems of the world, dunya. So it's interesting, the same word. But anyway, let's just look at the words we've looked at here so far. Dunyamara, the Selkie, so he'll be featuring in our story. This is Samuel. Story, legend, tale, Sgeulachd. Reclaiming the name of my story, okay, is Athruanach. And it will be very funny because they'll all be sharing their stories of what it's like to live amongst humans. Okay. Just so you know, other characters in the story. Here we have a a storm kelpie. A kelpie is basically a water horse. If you've been to Scotland, you'll know we have, I think, 3 or 4 big statues of kelpies, no? Not far away from Glasgow. And in my story, there'll be a storm kelpie. A storm kelpie is a very particular kind of water horse. His name is George. We can use his Gaelic name. We'll come on to that. We're not going to do that today, but we'll continue going through this just to translate more. And he's one of the blue men. And this is another Scottish legend about these beings that live in the sea. And what they do is they come out of the sea to any approaching ship and they shout poetry at the captain. And the captain must be able to finish the poem. If he can't, then they could face disaster. So these blue men jump out of the sea and they say, "Oi, what's the end of this poem?" And they will give the first 2 lines, and the captain must be ready with his answer. So George, we'll use his Gaelic name, we'll come to that. He has issues with colour, and he faces a lot of racism in day-to-day society, because unlike other supernatural beings, he can't hide his colour. So he faces discrimination daily. He can't pretend to be human. He works as a poet, of course he would, because that's part of the legend of these blue men, and he has anger issues. He's in a mixed marriage, being married to another Kelpie who isn't a storm Kelpie, and she often comes to the meeting as a completely different person, since she can shapeshift, but they always recognize her by her hoofs. And this is another part of Gaelic mythology, that you recognize a shapeshifter by her hoofs. Okay, so Kelpies can shapeshift into humans, and you always know them. They always have some kind of horse characteristic. There's another one here. Now, we'll talk more about her, but she's basically one of these women who predicts death. There's a few of those in Gaelic culture. There's the Banshee. I think this is the Bania. I need to check on the pronunciation. Her name is Mary. In the meeting, they nickname her Jessica Fletcher because people die whenever she's around, and everyone's scared of her when she attends the meeting. She's generally the negative one of the group. She loves to take care of the rooms, particularly after the meeting, where she washes the floor and tablecloths. I guess that should be tablecloths. And is responsible for the coffee. Okay, so this basically just means washerwoman. We'll come back and we'll be talking more about this. We'll go through this again and add some more Gaelic words before we continue. There's also a brownie couple called Anna and Ian. They're always very depressed. They work for a gay couple living in a castle in the Highlands. They both spent 10 years in jail while pretending to be human at a time when it was illegal. She was a famous ballet dancer in the 70s and has a sense of grandeur about her, and they don't mix well with the others, but they do always bring milk for the coffee. Now, brownies are known for being very hard workers at night time around the house, but they love milk, so you should always give them milk to keep them happy. In my stories, there will also be a half mermaid, half human who has substance abuse issues. She's a bitter, cynical mermaid who's always chain smoking. So we'll be looking at her. There's also 2 humans who support the group who come to observe when open meetings are taking place, because, of course, when they're sharing, the meetings are closed. They're called Catherine and Edgar. They're very pro-being. Okay, so that means they're very into their mythical creatures. They support them, which makes them kind of unique because these supernatural beings living with humans are facing a lot of discrimination. And their children are all married to fairies and shapeshifters. Right, so what we're going to be doing to get started with this is in our next few episodes, we're going to make more of this Gaelic. I'll be explaining more about Kelpies, I'll be explaining more about these water horses, also the washerwoman, the word for brownie, uh, Gaelic word for George. So you see, when we do these stories, it'll be a great way of bringing to life the characters while slowly bringing in more Gaelic. It has to be slow just so we can really understand more about them. Now, today's word, dunyamara, merman, uh, it's the same word for a Selkie. There probably are other words in Gaelic like sea warrior, but we're just going to make him into the same as a merman. And that's one of Samuel's issues. He's often confused with mermaids because nobody really knows about Selkies. The word for story we've done already, Sgeulachd, and the word for reclaiming, the name of my story is reclaiming, Ath Vuanach. Okay, so we've introduced the characters. We will be bringing in little short stories about them and about what they're doing. But as I say, the next few clips will be focusing here more about the people. And we might even bring in some more people because we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we might make it up to 12. That would be nice, wouldn't it? And yeah, okay, so that's it from me for now. Those are our words of today. If you love Scottish mythology, you're going to love my writing. But don't worry if you don't, because I'll be doing other things as well. I'll still be out and about with my camera and introducing you to different words, phrases, expressions in Gaelic as well. So that's it from me for today. Something to look forward to. It gives us some kind of shape to our Gaelic learning. And you're more than welcome to help me if you want to contribute a story or if you want to explain more about Gaelic words. You can come onto my video clips. We can talk about it together. If you don't, you can write something in Gaelic and we can put it up here. Or if you have a story you want to share about this, leave it in the comments and we can pick it up from there. So it'll be lovely. All right. So, Tapalet, thank you very much. Chiri and Drazda. Bye for now.